All right, what's going on, guys? Tonight, we're going to talk about the Middle East. We've got some developments taking place there. We've got the Syrian president that has just met up with U.S. President Donald Trump. We're going to talk about the implications of that. Then we're also going to talk about Trump's recent statement in which he stated that there is going to be, he's expecting more nations to line up to join the Abraham Accords. This comes as another nation has just recently joined. Also, if we're in this season of peace and safety, then pray and tell me why Iran and Hezbollah are all preparing for some type of major conflict. We're going to cover all that on tonight's podcast. So let's get after it.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's going on, everybody? This is End Time Headlines, news and headlines from a prophetic perspective, and it is Tuesday night, November the 11th. We want to welcome everybody to the program by YouTube. If you're watching through the live chat here at the 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central hour, or by the rebroadcast of this, or if you're listening in from Apple or Spotify, again, wherever you're watching or listening from, we welcome you. And if you're able to comment on any one of these platforms and you're new to the program, let us know that you're new and where you're tuning in from. And also, if everyone would be a blessing to us, this would be a great blessing to us if you could hit that like button here on the video platform. And if you're watching if you're listening by audio or by Spotify, if you can give us a good review. These two things alone will help push out our program and push out our ministry to be seen and to make it visible on visual platforms and audio platforms alike. So without further ado, guys, I want to get right into this tonight. We've got some breaking news that's coming out of the White House, and we're talking about this meeting with the Syrian president and Donald Trump. We want to get you up to par on the latest on this. There's a lot of developments coming out of this that's really going to could literally shift and shape the landscape of the Middle East. So let's get right into this. We've got a video here that we're going to show you.
A historic day at the White House as President Trump welcomes Syrian President Ahmad al-Sharaa. This is the first visit by a Syrian head of state since the Middle Eastern country gained independence from France back in 1946.
Wow.
The two leaders expected to discuss several issues, including allowing Syria to work more closely with U.S. forces to fight the Islamic State group. Al-Sharaa once had ties to al-Qaeda and was on the most wanted list with a $10 million bounty on his head. He also once battled against U.S. forces in Iraq and was even imprisoned by U.S. troops there for several years. NewsNation's Hannah Brandt joins us live from the White House. Hannah, this is really a significant visit today.
Nicole, it absolutely is a historic visit. As you said, this is a meeting that's happening behind closed doors here at the White House. No cameras inside, but it's been going on for over an hour now. And this visit.
So I want to stop right here and interject something. Notice again, yet here is another historic, monumental moment regarding the Middle East, regarding the U.S. President Donald Trump, and in regards to the direction of peace and safety. This is all going to tie into today's program.
It really is significant. It comes amid a shift in U.S. policy towards Syria after what's been years of diplomatic isolation for the country. Now, President Trump first met with Syria's new president, Ahmad al-Sharaa, back in May in Saudi Arabia. And that's when the president began lifting sanctions on Syria, with the goal, he said, of helping Syria along with its reconstruction process. Now, the U.S. also recently, just days ago, removed al-Sharaa and other Syrian leaders from official sanction and terrorist lists. And that move really clearing the path for more high-level diplomatic engagement like this sit-down meeting that's happening right now. Today, a senior administration official does tell News Nation that the White House is expecting al-Sharaa to commit to joining the U.S.-led coalition to defeat ISIS. And we're also anticipating that the leaders are discussing more sanctions relief and more U.S.-Syria military cooperation as well. The White House has really described this meeting as part of the president's larger efforts to pursue peace in the Middle East and to further the progress.
There it is.
Under new Syrian leadership. Here's what President Trump himself said about this meeting and the Syrian president just last week.
It's a tough neighborhood, and he's a tough guy, but I got along with him very well, and a lot of progress has been made with Syria. That's a tough one, but a lot of progress has been made. We'll see what happens, but I would be open to it. But we did take the sanctions off Syria in order to give them a fighting shot, and I think so far I think he's doing a very good job so far.
Like I said, that meeting happening behind closed doors and away from cameras, so we are waiting for it to wrap up and to listen to what the White House has to say about it. But I'd also like to note President Trump, he's currently waived those sanctions that the U.S. had been imposing on Syria, but a permanent repeal of those sanctions would require some action from Congress. That is something we've seen senators working on. But while there are some lawmakers who support a simple end to those sanctions, there are others who want to set conditions for a repeal of the sanctions to fall.
Yeah, so Hannah, there's been some criticism coming from Republicans who say the president is putting too much emphasis on foreign policy, meeting with these foreign leaders instead of really focusing on domestic issues. What are you hearing about that?
Well, multiple of President Trump's close allies are criticizing the foreign focus that we've seen, some saying last week's election loss actually shows Republicans aren't spending enough time on the domestic issues, namely affordability. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie.
And again, we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you agree with the GOP allies? Do you agree with the Republicans that Trump is spending far more time on international foreign relations and trying to solve those issues while neglecting the home front? Again, let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Taylor Greene, we know she's a close Trump ally. She's one of the people who pointed out just today that the president is meeting with someone who was previously designated as a terrorist by the U.S. on the 250th anniversary of the Marines.
I mean, she got a point.
In her post, I would really like to see nonstop meetings at the White House on domestic policy, not foreign policy, and foreign countries' leaders. Start by hauling in the health insurance companies' executives, and let's start formulating our Republican plan to save America from Obamacare and ACA tax credits. This is an issue that she also raised with our Blake Berman on the Hill just last week.
When we said no more foreign wars, we meant it, and that meant don't send our money and our weapons. That didn't mean go all over the world talking to all the foreign countries. When we said put America first.
We've also heard the same sentiment from Ohio governor candidate Vivek Ramaswamy and MAGA leader Steve Bannon. Vance has been downplaying the post-election criticism, but he himself said in a post that the Trump administration does need to focus on the home front, Nicole.
All right, Hannah Brandt, live for us there.
Now, on that same note there, let's look at this headline. Trump deploying U.S. military to Damascus Air Base. Now, again, if you know prophecy, guys, we know Isaiah 17 highlights Damascus, which is the capital of Syria, and it literally tells us it has a chilling forecast for the future, indicating that it will become a ruinous heap. So I'm going to read this again. It's from Newsweek. Trump deploying U.S. military to Damascus Air Base in major Syria shift. Let's read a little bit about this. The White House is preparing to deploy the U.S. military to an air base in Syrian capital of Damascus to help shore up a potential security pact between Syria and Israel that the U.S. president is currently brokering, according to a new report. Washington has swiveled its relations with Damascus since the fall of President Bashar al-Assad in December of 2024 and the crumbling of his Iranian allied regime. The country's new president, Ahmad al-Sharaa, is due to meet with Trump at the White House on Monday. Again, this is happening. This is already, by the time this airs tonight, this will already have taken place. I don't want to rehash all this. We just listened to all this. The U.S. is planning to use the base to keep an eye on a possible agreement between Israel and Syria, citing 6 sources familiar with preparations at the facility. It is not clear which site is referenced in the report, nor is it clear how many U.S. troops would be actually involved and when they could arrive. And again, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts below in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on this. What do you see coming from this? I did take some notes on this. I'm gonna break down why this let me talk about the future ramifications or implications for Israel, because remember, Israel is the center focal piece of Bible prophecy. Okay, al-Sharaa, now the leader of Syria, met with Trump, signaling a tectonic diplomatic shift in this region. We've already talked about this, but watch this. For Israel, this means that it could open a window if Syria is brought in from the cold border tensions, especially around the Golan Heights. And there it is again, the Golan Heights, the West Bank area. This might be moderated or managed differently. According to the Jerusalem Post, Israel is watching closely how the Syrian policy will evolve in relation to its border security. Number two, U.S. leverage over Syria appears to be shifting Israel's strategic calculations. If the U.S. is offering support to Syria and pledging to do, quote, everything to make Syria successful, this puts the U.S. in a stronger position of influence with Syria, and Israel may need to recalibrate how it deals with Syria, with Syrian moves, or actions near its frontier. We're talking about military intelligence and incursions and all that, because you got to remember, guys, how many times have we read about, we hear about on the news where Syria is bombed by Israel? Israel carries out military operations to take out terrorist infrastructures and so on and so forth. Well, this could get a little bit hairy now because of how this is changing. Trump reportedly encouraged Syria to join something akin to the Abraham Accords. Now, we're going to talk about the Abraham Accords in just a moment. And remember, Trump is trying, I honestly, guys, let me just tell you this. I think this is the carrot on the stick that's trying to persuade Syria to come into the Abraham Accords and normalize relations with Israel. Imagine how huge that would be. Even according to the Times of Israel, this appears this likely is what is going on. But al-Sharaa is publicly ruled out direct talks, at least at this time, with Israel. And the reason why he cites the Golan Heights and other outstanding issues. For Israel, this literally gives great potential, but again, Israel may need to keep its current security first posture in place. Now, let me give you another point here. Syria is seeking to re-enter international financial and aid streams. The U.S. might relax sanctions, and they already have. But we're talking about even further. When Syria rebuilds with U.S. backing, its stability may increase, but also its ability to influence border areas. What does this mean for Israel? It means stable neighbors are generally good, but they also change the risk calculations. Again, do you trust Syria? Do you trust the new president, being that he was on, just like we heard from Marjorie Green when she said that he was on a terror list? Do we believe that he's changed his colors? Is this a facade? Is this a front? What does this mean down the line? Well, let me give you the key concerns for Israel, okay? All right, the big one is the Golan Heights sovereignty. This remains a huge elephant in the room. A big reason for Syria's reluctance to engage with Israel is the status of the Golan Heights captured by Israel in 1967. And then it was later annexed under Israeli law. The international community regards it as occupied territory. Al-Sharaa explicitly pointed to the Golan Heights as a hurdle. He calls this a hurdle. For Israel, any shift in U.S. or Syrian posture over the Golan Heights could carry major strategic and domestic political implications. Hello, we're talking about the division of Israel, okay? Number two is the uncertainty over immediate security threats. The shifts don't mean that existing threats, and we're talking about Iranian-backed militias in Syria, cross-border fire, drone incursions, invasions, terrorist attacks, all of this, they don't expect this to vanish overnight. Israel will still need to monitor and prepare for gray zone actions. The change may be more diplomatic than material in the near term. In other words, this sounds good on paper, peace and safety, but then sudden, destruction comes. If the U.S. is leaning towards engaging Syria, Israel may find itself balancing how it presents its own actions regarding Syria. And again, we're talking about the future. This could result in friction over Israel's freedom of operation if Syria feels backed by the U.S. or wants to assert more presence. Translation: could this cause a rift between Israel and America's relations? Because I want you to think about that. What could be the ramifications now if if Israel was to carry out some kind of a military operation in Syria now, with Syria making this kind of a presence in this kind of alliance or allegiance with America now, this involvement with them. This could get real messy. Syria's re-entry into diplomatic and economic life, especially under U.S. encouragement, shifts the regional chessboard, if you would, leaving Israel to reassess how it works with its neighbors, how it positions itself with Arab states, Iran, Russia, Turkey, by the way, are all players of Gog and Magog. The new Syrian leadership may pursue different alignments. Wow. So this is what's on the table, ladies and gentlemen, with what's going on, at least in regards to the Syrian president and Donald Trump and the fate of Syria and the relations with America and the involvement of Israel and its neighbors. So again, I always like to remind our audience that somehow, some way, somewhere in the vast of time, we got to get from this to there, or point A to point B. We know, according to Isaiah 17, again, Damascus will become a ruinous heap, so they're going to be a center focal point. Then we got to remember, again, some scholars agree or disagree on this, but you got Psalm 83 war that some say has already taken place, some say it's a future event. And then we all agree on Ezekiel 38-39, Gog-Magog war that has not happened. That's a future war. I say, and I know some of y'all is going to get upset with this, but that war is in the far future. There's no way that can happen, I would say, even in the next 3 months or 6 months or longer. It could be years. Why? Because you go read Ezekiel 38-39, it says it happens in the latter days of Israel. It talks about it happens when Israel is dwelling in peace and safety. No gates, no bars, no walls. That, ladies and gentlemen, right now Israel is far from that condition. And it tells you that hooks will be placed in the jaws of these countries. Turkey, Iran, the southern Soviet Russian states, or we just say Russia to make this simple, and then these other nations that are involved in that. The hooks will be put in the jaw by God himself, and they will be pulled down. They'll be pulled back into a direct conflict with Israel. So it kind of gives us this implication here that there's going to be a window or a space of peace and safety. And this agrees with 1 Thessalonians. Okay? When Paul said, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them. Now, having said that, now you guys probably already are aware of this, but President Donald Trump said Kazakhstan will join the Abraham Accords with more nations, and I quote, more nations expected to follow in normalizing relations with Israel. Look at that. Let me say that one more time. Trump says more nations are lining up to join the Abraham Accords. Wow. President Donald Trump said more countries are lining up to join the Abraham Accords in an effort to, quote, normalize relations with Israel. Kazakhstan is expected to join the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco, which had formalized relations with the Jewish state. Trump said he spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the president of Kazakhstan, and it is the first country of my second term to, quote, join the Abraham Accords, the first of many. Now, again, this is very interesting verbiage here. The first of many to join the Abraham Accords. Now, this is why I keep telling. Now, again, I'm not implying here that Trump is the Antichrist by any means, but I'm telling you, this is setting the stage. He is preparing the stage, creating the platform, creating the foundation, creating the blueprints, the framework, whatever language you want to give to this. But look at this. Again, according to that article, this is the first of many that will join. Now look at this. Daniel 9:27 says that when the Antichrist makes his appearance, when he comes on the scene, he shall confirm a covenant, look at this, with many for 7 years. Again, in Hebrew, that's 1 week. Translation is 7 years. Let me say it again. The Antichrist will confirm a covenant with many for 7 years. But again, this will be broken in the middle of the covenant of many. The language is profound, guys, that's being used. I'm going to read this. Quote, we will soon announce a signing ceremony to make it official, and there are many more countries trying to join this club of strength. According to Trump, quote, so much more to come in uniting countries for stability and growth. Real progress, real results. Blessed are the peacemakers. Wow. What is everyone's thoughts on that? And let us know again in the chat. Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you on those thoughts. While you're commenting on this, let me give you some final thoughts on not the whole podcast, but on this segment, because we're going to shift gears and we'll talk about how right in the midst of all this peace and safety talk, I'm going to show you a new report that's indicating that the neighbors of Israel is preparing for something. If you think they're laying down their arms in the name of peace and safety, then you're delusional, because that's not going to happen. For decades, peace in the Middle East was thought to be impossible without addressing the deep rifts between Israel and her Arab neighbors. Yet it appears that under the Abraham Accords, now barriers have fallen one by one. You had Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Sudan, all have entered into agreements with Israel, shifting regional alliances and reshaping global diplomacy as we know it. And now you have this meeting with President Trump and with the Syrian president. But here's the key, guys. The real attention, the real focal point is Saudi Arabia. This is the most influential Muslim power in the entire region and the guardian of Islam's holiest sites. In Mecca, that's the holiest site in the whole Middle East. That's where Mecca is, where Islam was founded. There is reports suggesting that direct talks between Israel and Saudi Arabia are either underway or they're being prepared, possibly with the U.S. playing a quiet mediating role. Listen to this. If Saudi Arabia signs on, it would be nothing short of, again, and I know this, we're throwing this word out again, historic. Not only would this be historic politically, but economically, but spiritually, I want to say not spiritually, but prophetic-wise. Why? Because it would mark the most significant normalization between Israel and the Arab world since the founding of the modern Jewish state of Israel in 1948. This would be huge, guys. This kind of peace would redefine the Middle East. It would open new trade routes, strengthen defense alliances, and reduce hostilities that have simmered for generations. Now, this sounds like the fulfillment of a dream, right? A step towards peace that believers have prayed for since the time began. However, for us watchmen and students of Bible prophecy, it raises some serious and sobering questions. And this is what we're talking about. Because many of us believe that this is paving the way and preparing for the future appearance and arrival of the man of the hour, the man of sin, the man of perdition. This is the guy that Paul talks about in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, when he talks about the Antichrist appearing, and he will show himself that he is God. Now, he does this midway of this 7-year covenant with many. He'll sign that covenant with many, and then for 42 months, it'll be peace and safety. But then in the middle of this, he breaks that covenant, invades Jerusalem, invades the Temple Mount, and sets up his headquarters and declares himself as God. Here, again, this is what you need to watch out for. If the day ever comes when we see Israel just completely enter a sweeping, all-encompassing treaty with many nations, lowering their guard, lowering their defenses, and to the point where the gates come down, the bars come down, the walls come down, my friend, we will know for a surety that this is it. We are setting the stage for the end of the end, the last of the last, and the final conflicts of Bible prophecy. But here's the big elephant in the room. I'm going to shift gears, and I'm going to talk about this right here because we've got to talk about this. Now, Michael Snyder put out a report about 5 days ago, and this caught my eye, and I knew I was going to talk about this tonight. And this is what his headline is: Watch the Middle East. Israel, Iran, and Hezbollah are all preparing for something really big. We're going to read this together. If there's going to be peace in the Middle East, why are Israel, Iran, and Hezbollah feverishly preparing for war? He writes here, I'm watching the Middle East very closely because I expect something really big to happen. In fact, just hours ago, and again, this was written on the 5th of November, today is the 11th of the recording of this. Just hours ago, the Israeli Defense Forces conducted major airstrikes in Lebanon. Meanwhile, the Iranians, look at this, are stockpiling missiles like never before. The clock is ticking and the Middle East could potentially erupt in flames at any moment. A lot of people out there seem to think that Hezbollah has been totally defeated, but of course that is not the case at all. It is still very formidable, and it's being reported that Hezbollah is working on rebuilding the Radwan force and retrieving weapons from its bunkers. Quote, the Israeli newspaper, this is an affiliate in Israel, reported that the Israeli army is preparing for multiple scenarios. Look at that, preparing for multiple scenarios on the northern front with Lebanon. The newspaper added that Israeli intelligence has detected increased activity by Hezbollah in several Lebanese regions, including the north of the Litani River, the Bekaa Valley, and Daya. It had noted that Hezbollah is working on rebuilding the Radwan force and retrieving weapons from its bunkers that were previously targeted by Israeli airstrikes. In response, Israeli officials have developed a plan that involves wide-scale assassinations of senior Hezbollah commanders and strikes on key positions deep inside Lebanon. Quote, the Israeli army has intensified military preparations along the northern front amid growing indications that Israel is preparing for a major confrontation with Hezbollah, according to reports from Israeli media. Armed radio cited informed sources are saying that the anticipation operation will involve a wide-scale assassinations of senior Hezbollah commanders and strikes on key positions deep inside Lebanon. The sources added that the operation could be launched at any moment, depending on developments along the border. The report suggests Israel aims to neutralize Hezbollah's leadership and infrastructure, even as fragile ceasefire remains officially in place. Of course, we can now see this plan in action. On another note, in recent days, there's been wide-scale assassinations of senior Hezbollah commanders. In fact, a number of the top leaders of Hezbollah's Radwan force have been recently killed. We're also witnessing airstrikes on Hezbollah targets deep inside Lebanese territory. Israel and Hezbollah appears to be at war again, even though this is not really being told and talked about on the media. Hezbollah is ruling out any negotiations, and they are warning that they will fight to, quote, defend their interest. Meanwhile, Iran has been feverishly stockpiling missiles, and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas or we're just gonna say the Iranian foreign minister, I'm not even gonna try to slaughter that name, is claiming that his nation's missile forces are now, quote, far greater than during the 12-day war. Let me read this here. The Islamic Republic's approach was to rely on domestically produced military equipment, and the result was that those who initially demanded unconditional surrender ended up accepting an unconditional ceasefire on the 12th day. International relations are based on power. We must be strong, and the armed forces have gone above and beyond in this regard. Our missile power today is far greater than during the 12-day war. And more reports indicate that Iran has imported 2,000 tons of sodium perchlorate from China since the end of September. The Iranians have vowed to rebuild its nuclear program stronger than ever. And right now, the IAEA has absolutely no idea what is going on at Fordo and the other two major nuclear sites and facilities there in Iran. So what's the point here? The point is that we have two fronts here building. We have the peace and safety, and then the sudden destruction. We know, guys, that this era of peace and safety is only going to last so long. There's only going to be one everlasting peace, and that's not going to happen until the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, come on, Jesus Christ, shows up in Revelation 19 on a white horse with the kingdom with him. Okay? But until then, you're going to hear it when they shall say peace and safety. You're going to have all these treaties signed, and then I believe it's going to be a series of treaties. And then this will all build up and create the framework so that Daniel 9:27, the Antichrist, comes in and confirms or establishes something that's already been put in place. He affirms it. And then once he affirms it for a period of 7 years, boom, everything is set in motion. So what are we talking about? We're talking about, just from everything we presented here today, what's going on in the Middle East regarding, again, the focal biblical centerpiece of prophecy, the nation of Israel. We can tell you Luke 21:28. Jesus said, when you begin to see all of these things coming to pass, it's time to look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. Listen, guys, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com. As always, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up in the chat. Let us know your thoughts, your opinions on what's taking place with the meeting with the Syrian President Trump, the Abraham Accords. Where do you think this is leading? Perhaps you can give us some angle that maybe we left out here. You can add to the conversation right there in the chat or in the comment on YouTube. You guys listening by Apple or by Spotify, we'd love for you guys to come over here to YouTube and join us sometimes on these live programs at 8 p.m. Eastern. Or I should say the premieres on the 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Central programs, or just hit us up in the comments on the YouTube channel. So as always, guys, we want to thank you for being a part of our program on this Tuesday night. We're getting ready to sign out, but again, we always want to encourage you. If this ministry blesses you, it encourages you, it informs you, it equips you, or all the above, and you'd like to know more about partnering with us, maybe you've been praying and you say, you know what, I'd like to partner with End Time Headlines. I believe in what they're doing. I support their vision. And if you don't know our vision, it's basically to provide the listening audience and those who watch and listen an understanding of the times and seasons in which we're in from a biblical perspective. And how we do that is we take headlines every week, we make them discussion points, and we pull the Holy Bible into it in regards to prophecy and in relation to how it impacts our society today and the culture lined up with the Word of God. So that's what we do here. So if you enjoy our content and you wish to stand behind us and help support us, because again, we don't charge for any, all of our podcasts are free, no merchandise, no books, no subscription fee. The app is free. All we ask is you pray about becoming a monthly partner, and whatever the Lord puts on your heart, you just be obedient to that, and the Lord will bless you. If you want to know more about that, here's a quick video, and we'll be right back.
If you enjoy our content and would like to partner with End Time Headlines, helping us make more people aware of the times and seasons which we are in from a prophetic perspective, you can go to endtimeheadlines.org and click Support. Here you can give a one-time gift or a monthly pledge on our main website. This page also shows you how to give electronically through Cash App or Venmo. If you would like to give by check or money order, you can make it out to End Time Headlines at P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia 30655. Or you can give through our free End Time Headlines app by pressing the bottom right button that says Donate.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on this program. We're going to be back, Lord willing. We plan on being back here tomorrow night. That'll be on the 12th. That'll be Wednesday, November 12th. Again, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here. And we'll have another great program for you. Until then, I pray the Lord bless you, keep you, and may his countenance shine upon you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.